I got to thinking about it, and I kind of feel bad looking back. I do kind of feel bad for picking on Angry Joe, because I did that video where I was kind of picking on him for his review of this game, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying my points weren't valid, but I think Angry Joe has a bit of a secret. I don't think it's really a secret. I think he's just not. He's not into reviewing video games as like he used to. That would definitely explain why. That would definitely explain why he doesn't do a whole lot of angry reviews anymore. You know what I mean? Like, he's just not into it. And I don't envy video game reviewers. Like, guys like Angry Joe that made their success off of reviewing video games. Because I can imagine, like, video game reviewing is, in my opinion, you gotta be in it. Like, you really have to have a passion for that sort of thing. And I've noticed, like, his passion has become more like... It seems like board games are more his passion. But because it's not going to get him the views that he needs to make money, he does video game reviews. And how sad is it that you're stuck doing a job that you don't really have passion? Like, I consider, like, game reviewers to be, like, most computer-related jobs. If you go into work one day and you decide you're not really into it, but you're still stuck doing it because that's what pays the bills, right? That's sad. Like, I'm sure he makes a lot of money playing video games. But does he really want to, right? Because it seems like when he was talking about Dead Island 2, and again, most of my points are valid, he claimed that he spent time playing it in solo mode. And said that it would be worse in solo mode if it was in co-op. And that's just not true. I've been doing a white weapon run with Bruno, just like a white axe and a white hammer, and I'm having no trouble at all. So I argued that he didn't take the time to get to know his Slayer. It was obvious that out of all video games, zombie games are just not his bag. But yet he feels compelled to review it because that's what's going to get him views, right? Because that whole Dying Light video really put him on the map. So everybody's going to want to tune in for, hey, Joe, you want to play a zombie game? Yeah, I get it. So he did it. But his review was just underwhelming, much like his attitude toward the game. Like, he wasn't really playing it. Like, he was just kind of playing it while other Joe played the game. Like, he was just tagging along while other Joe played the game. So to sit there for hours and hours and hours and do something you really don't want to do, playing a game you don't really want to play. No, I don't envy video game reviewers, especially those who have, well, they just burned out, didn't they? They're burnt out, and you can tell they're burnt out. So I kind of feel bad for picking on him, because it can't be fun to be doing a job it's pretty obvious you're not into anymore, especially when it comes to, like, having to review a lot of games that come out, right? Games you don't want to, because if I was a successful game reviewer, which I'm not, and I was compelled to play something like Elden Ring, which is another effing fantasy game, like something I feel like I've been doing for 20 years, playing frickin' fantasy games. Sure, some can still tug at my heartstrings, like Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance and the Dragon Age series. They can still tug at my heart. But the idea of jumping into another fantasy IP and having to sit there and meticulously go over every inch of it so I can review it, that does sound like a form of torture. So I can see that. I do. I feel bad because there will be a Bruno game coming out, like part of my all white weapons, no meat bait Bruno run. And I had like I started doing this running joke through the video, where I was like, "Hey, you remember that time Angry Joe was talking about how hard Dead Island 2 is, and you should expect it to be even worse in solo mode." Yeah, I did do that. I did. And today I'm just thinking, I'm like, I don't envy him at all. I kind of feel bad for a guy who is stuck at a job. It's what he's known for. And it does feel like he doesn't want to admit he doesn't want to review video games. Like, you can look at his older stuff and you can see the passion he had for that sort of thing. And he was funny. He entertained us for years. And now he's just kind of done, I think. I genuinely do. I think he's just done. But it's expected of him, so he does it anyway, right? So I do. I feel bad for Joe. Looking back, I do. Now, he tends to get himself in trouble on Twitter and stuff. He tends to overshoot his mouth off, and he gets some negative attention for his unpopular takes on things that people post over there, right? So I'm not judging him for that. I do. I think that's the things that he's done recently, like his opinions recently. I do not agree with any of that, but I will say I do feel sorry for someone who's stuck reviewing video games and it's obviously not their cup of tea anymore. Especially like zombie games. Now he can say all he wants. Oh, well, it's not that. It's really not that. Zombie games have just been done to death. That's true. Oh, the they never tell an interesting story. They never have anything new to say. It's just go kill these zombies. Go kill those zombies. That is true. But you know what? I can't help but notice how excited he was, like, in a lot of reviews for. Although he had problems with Call of Duty, he obviously enjoys Call of Duty games, right? So a lot of the criticisms he holds towards zombie games, you could easily say that towards first-person shooter games. He seems to still like those, right? So he makes these claims against zombie games that you could say that about fantasy games. You could say that about first-person shooter games. So I think he kind of hides behind that whole, oh, it's just another zombie game. No, I think he's kind of done with video games. He seems to be like more interested in board games. That's where his passion lies, right? Um, just in the last few reviews. Now, I don't think we can hold it against, like, Redfall was bad. And Forspoken was bad, right? But yeah, some video, like some of the reviews, it's just kind of like, curls his lip, just like, and then you could see it hiding behind his eyes. He's just like, every time he's got to do a video game review, he's just not looking forward to it, I think. You know what I mean? I don't know. So I feel sorry for Angry Joe. And, but, not liking a game and that's why you suck at the game, obviously sucking at the game, and then you make sensational claims about how hard the game may be for single players, you know, uh, I, don't review games you're not looking forward to. Because you're not going to be paying attention to half of the lore presented to you. You're not going to be interested in playing the game. So how are you supposed to give a fair review? Maybe he should focus on his board game stuff. It seems like that's where his passion really lies, is like board games and movies. But I would argue movie reviews are like the easiest thing to do under the sun. They really are. You just sit there, watch a movie, and then you talk about it. Like that's not the same as games, right? Like video movie reviews are so much easier. Hell, I could sit around and talk about all my favorite movies, but that's because I didn't have to do anything but sit there and watch them, right? I don't feel like I would have a talent to talk about movies unless one really aggravated me. Some of my friends got a chuckle when I actually forced myself to sit down and watch Twilight, or Gods Above, help me. I actually sat down and watched 50 Shades of Grey. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they cracked up when I started like going off about how ridiculous those movies were. But yeah, I don't know. I feel sorry for Angry Joe. Uh Kind of. But again, we're talking about a dude that makes buku bucks, right? So he puts forth the least amount of effort and gets maximum profits back for that. And if anything else, he can always fall back on his merchandise and his G Fuel sales. It's all kind of sad, really, because you remember like how he used to be, you know, the gamer who reflects the little guy in gaming. I represent you guys. And he's got his merchandise store now, and he's constantly peddling G Fuel. Does he really represent the little guy anymore? I don't really think so. But I do feel sorry for anybody who is stuck in a job, even if they're making a lot of money and they're not into it. That's got to be pretty soul sucking. So yeah, but yeah, I did have like a moment, and if you're watching my all white weapon no meat Bruno run, you're probably gonna catch it where I get stuck on this recurring joke, like, you remember that time Angry Joe said. I do get kind of stuck on it because I'm just having fun with it. But at the end of the day, I'm sorry, Angry Joe, for you know criticizing you. Okay. I'm sorry. If you suck at video games, honey, that's that's just unfortunate, right? You just sucked at this game, and you know, I'm sorry you suck. Anyway, that's all I got for now. You all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, and I will catch you on the flip side, my honeys. Count